This episode is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. If you use the code GT2305 at checkout, you'll get 5% off any order over $100, and you can find them at valhallahobby.com.
The quality's good because I don't think there's any way we actually sound.
We have
good.
Listeners which suggests that we must sound at least okay.
Okay, that's fair. I will accept that input.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts, Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 118 of Getting Tabled with your host. He's reached level 41, the Bruce.
Hello, folks. Yes, lots of horror movies and lots of alcohol. Level 41 was lovely. Thank you to those that reached out. We also have, I can't quite frequently call him the main man, but he still hasn't qualified to be a man yet. It's Slime Socks.
Ouch. That hurts. I appreciate it. Welcome. I know you do. And if I'm coming down to Australia, I won't see you. No, I'll look forward to the time that I can possibly come down there on an exercise or whatnot. We'll get a game in or whatnot. And then we have George in No Man's Land, Wyoming.
Hello. So Bruce, what did you select for your stat? -1 to knee or -2 to lower back?
I picked up -1 to knee for my 40th, so... Because you might remember, I famously couldn't walk for PAX last year.
That's right, I do remember. So -2 to lower back, got it.
No, I just kind of balanced out the knee, and it's okay-ish at the moment.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
And we're starting with some giant news. Hey, look, I made a pun.
Quite literally.
Yeah, this is a giant miniature, and it's gorgeous. So, this is for Conquest. Long-time listeners may know that we did a whole series on Conquest that you can still look at on the page, on the YouTube channel. This particular behemoth is massive. So they're calling it the Siege Breaker Behemoth, and it's for the Spires, which are kind of like your evil, horrible things that have ruined everything. They're actually a twisted version of elves, ironically. This is one of their horrible creations. It's just nasty looking. I actually really like this. I also like that it's been painted really bright and colourful as opposed to horrible, dingy colours.
Yeah, first of all, that was the one thing I was going to comment on, is the color choice on this is absolutely amazing. Yeah. Usually if you use a blue like that, you do something like a darker gray or a black even. Not this skull
bone white.
I was going to say a very light gray with white highlights into it. What Bruce has also failed to mention is the height of this mini is 18 centimeters.
It's huge. It's not quite giant dinosaur huge, but I don't think George has seen the giant dinosaur.
Probably not. The box size is 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters by 6. That's a foot square box.
Yeah.
Hey, big things come in boxes like that.
George does know metric. He just pretends that he doesn't. The rest of your country doesn't, but George does.
He's about it. I do like the eyeballs sticking in the middle of his stomach / lower chest area.
With the hands opening up the eyelids so it can see. Yeah. That's...
George, do me a favor. Go to factions. Go to Wadrun. This is not news, folks, but I want George to have a look at this. And then look at the size of the Tontor. Or the drum bass. They're basically the same size.
24 centimeters.
Holy smokes. That is huge.
Centimeters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the length. 27 is the length. Height is 24.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So it still only counts as one.
Nice reference. I'll give you points for that. Yeah, so these things are huge. I continue to be really impressed with what Para Bellum are doing. Like, seriously, these guys are pulling off some really incredible things. I mean, the early stuff that they first were coming out with, like the early Spires and the early 100 Kingdoms, were kind of like they weren't terrible, but like they're not as good as the stuff that we're getting now. It's just phenomenal. It really is. And if you want to buy stuff directly from Para Bellum, if you use the code GettingTabled at checkout, you'll get 10% off. And you help support the channel without actually costing yourself any money. So, hey, give it a thought.
Welcome, JP.
And Shay.
I said hi, Shay, earlier. You already said sup.
We also have Jolly and Mean, which might be my favorite Christmas special stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, you got the Grinch, pretty much.
Yeah, we have the Grinch.
The form of the Grinch.
It kind of reminds me of the Ood from Doctor Who, more than anything else. So yes, we have an Ood, which is like an alternate model for the Spires, and we have Saint Nick, Saint Nick Claus. They're just fun, honestly. That's all it is. They're just fun, and that's perfectly fine. That's all they need to be. They're just all kinds of fun. Now that I look at the close up of the Grinch, no, it is definitely the Grinch.
Yeah, if the side profile of his face kind of looks like the Grinch.
Yep, 100%. I love these things. Like, they are so pretty.
Yeah. I've seen imagery of Santa like this before, and I cannot place it. And it's really, excuse me, looks really good.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's a movie, like there's an animated CGI movie where it's like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and Jack Frost basically being superheroes.
Oh, it's like The Guardians, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of personally. It reminds me of that version of Santa Claus.
He was Russian in that, or Russian-esque, if I remember correctly.
Like that. Which is weird.
Maybe that's what it is.
German, if anything.
No,
it depends on the link, because Saint Nicholas was. No, I don't know. It's confusing because he's based on like 4 different people.
He's Norse because Santa is the Allfather. Who's the Allfather? Odin.
Okay, no, fair enough. But we're going to move on from Para Bellum because it's time to talk some Moonstone. I mean, long-time viewers of the channel will know that I'm a big fan of this game because it's so cool. We did talk about some previews recently, prior to the campaign, because Beasts of War had some previews. There were some other people that had previews as well, but that happened while we were off air. And this is live. So basically, this is an expansion to the game that's introducing a new faction. That faction is called Fundead, and I just love that. It's just awesome. Because, these are all creepy, undead-looking things, but they're very fun and whimsical, as you would expect from Moonstone at this point. We've seen some of these before. Like, I love the look of the charge of the Fright Brigade. These guys are basically all tiny little creatures, which is just all kinds of fun. The Never-Ending Night is fun, so we've got this horse knight called Greymare. We have Negroli, which is very clearly meant to be a necromancer. And I can't tell what Seraph is supposed to be, but it looks like a knight. The Shady Bunch is fun too. So we've got this really weird-looking ghost in the back. And I mean weird in a very wonderful way. My favourite might be the not mermaid-looking thing. I can't think of the word I want. Siren. The siren-looking thing. That might be my favourite in that group. I quite like Morag as well, though. Continuing down, we have this giant monstrosity of eternal servitude, which is just, it's an undead horse rider with some creepy sleepwalking thing in the background, and Igor the servant, because if you're going to have creepy stuff, you need to have an Igor in there somewhere. Freaky Thug Day is Jerry Eyre, which is, it's a jester, let's be fair, that's what it is. Rory is some weird lion person thing. It's just weird. And Abracadaverous is, I mean, it's a ugly looking goblin with a hand on the edge of his staff that looks like a bird type creature. It's really weird. I love how weird this stuff is. Like, seriously. There's a nanny with these creepy little things with her. Angerboda is a frost giant with like an icicle chest plate, I want to say. Can't quite tell if it's a chest plate or a... Yeah, I don't know. The Forgotten King is, again, like, this is just awesome. This look ghost, he might be, again, one of my favorites. So that's everything that we've seen so far. There's different pledge levels. There's always different pledge levels. I've stuck myself in for the coffin at this stage, but you can go nuts with this, as you always can. Once you get past there, you start seeing the actual 3D sculpts, which is obviously the important part here. And they're...
I love the whimsical nature of the sculpts. Yeah. It's a very Grimm meets Hunchback of Notre Dame Disney animation style.
It's what I like about Moonstone, because everybody else wants to do the super serious, super grim type stuff. That they're doing like we're trying to be the Lord of the Rings type stuff, where these guys is just doing nursery rhyme whimsical fantasy. It's low fantasy rather than high fantasy, if you want to use that terminology. But I just love the whimsical nature of this. Like, this is the sort of creepy things that we used to love as kids. Socks, do you have any favorites? Or, hey, do you like whimsical?
I do.
Or is this lost on you?
No, I do. I kind of like Angerboda, the frost giant.
Yeah, that's just something so different. I love how, like, the face is just so odd. In the best way. I mean, all of this is really odd, but I'm still struggling to figure out what my favorite is. But I would definitely... It's going very well. When at this stage it was a £15,000 goal, they're just shy of 80,000. So we're well and truly to stretch goals at this point.
Yeah, it's US dollars. It's an $18,000 campaign. And it's currently sitting at 95,000. So,
so the next unlock is some alternate sculpts for some various models. And looking at that, the siren-looking thing has some weird I'm crawling out of a well type vibe that reminds me of The Ring. I quite like that.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it is really nice to, see the exploration and the attempt to do something different from everyone else.
Yeah, no, I really do like it. It's what I like about the indie scene, is there's just so much more interesting stuff out there. But speaking of the indie scene, there's this tiny little company that we try to talk about occasionally, because sometimes it gets a little bit of attention. It's that tiny little indie that we all love. Yeah, we're talking about Warhammer. Who am I kidding? Okay. There's actually some really good stuff that got previewed last night. Now, I say last night. It was last night for me. It was this morning for you guys. First and foremost, George. During the Eldar release last year, we were asking for Scorpions. And hey, look, we've got Striking Scorpions. They're coming out for Kill Team.
What?
Yep.
No way!
So, they are still doing them. Like, they're just doing one piece at a time. They're doing this with the Kill Team box set. It's Striking Scorpions versus Space Marine Scouts. We already knew about the Scouts, so this isn't terribly exciting. We've seen these before. But the Striking Scorpions, I really like what they've done with them, honestly. They all remind me of the original sculpts. They haven't changed anything too drastically. They're just clearly embiggened to make them more in scale with everything else. You've got non-helmeted options for those that have gone in that direction, which is obviously not everybody. I really like what they've done here. It feels exactly like I felt it should.
They remind me. They remind me of being from Wisconsin with that color scheme there.
Yes.
Is it the Cheeseheads? No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the Cheeseheads.
Yes.
Hey, I know football things. So the benefit of this, for those that maybe haven't connected the dots yet, is that this is not coming out as part of a Codex release, meaning that we still have stuff coming when the Codex happens. So we probably will get something else significant when the Codex is out. What that turns out to be is another question. The way that they're doing this kill team is basically you can mix and match with Striking Scorpions, Howling Banshees, and Dire Avengers. So probably one of the more flexible lists too, honestly. Cool. The terrain looks cool. I mean, to some extent, if you've seen some Warhammer terrain, you've seen all Warhammer terrain. But this is like, it's a water platform type board, which is what the season's going to be this time, which is probably the most different of them that they've ever done. There is, I would argue, already options out here for much cheaper, because and I literally mean every third-party MDF terrain company makes a version of this table that's 5 or 6 years old. And I do mean 5 or 6 years old.
And probably 50% the price.
Oh, if not less than that. Yeah.
I will say this, though. This is probably one of the best terrain sets as an actual, like, you use this terrain for the game set that I've seen Games Workshop do.
I will agree, because it's probably one of the more flexible systems that they've done.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, Gallo Dark looked awesome with your Space Hulk stuff, but realistically, you really couldn't use it for anything else. I mean, I guess you could try to play a proper Warhammer game on it, but it's just not going to work with the game.
Well, and the fact that this terrain set is designed to be the play area, and it's contained within it, and it looks great, and it does the job it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, here's your grim, corners, and you can throw those here, and then you need, like, 20 more pieces of terrain. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up next, Ed, look, there's quite a few things. It was only a short preview, but there's other things that I'm not showing here today. We have the Bretonnian from the old world. So, last night we got a look at pretty much everything that's coming when the game launches. So this is all of the stuff that will be available, and most of the stuff that was showed off last night is all hard plastic. So the big criticism that I had, which is that the stuff that we got shown last time was all Forge World resin. Not everything is coming in resin from Old World. This is all hard plastic. So we've got this, I'm sorry, gorgeous Pegasus, and no offense to anybody else, I think this is the best Pegasus I've ever seen. And I mean hands down, I think this is the best Pegasus I've ever seen, or Pegasi I've ever seen. I like all three versions of it too, honestly. They're sticking with the whole, the Bretonnians, the bigger your hat is, the more important you are. You can build this up to be one of 3 different things, so you have to buy multiples of them. Though, in saying that, I'd probably argue that you would be able to very easily magnetize this by the look of it. I could be wrong, but I don't see anything about this that suggests that it's going to be hard.
Maybe the horse head.
True. Though, why do you not have to... Why couldn't you just pick the horse head that you like, if that was the case?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if, like, the... how do I say... Like, so the one where it's the king looking, what we think of as a traditional king. Yep. So he's got the faceplate on the horse versus the dude with the big hat.
Oh, sorry. The horse is the guy with the big hat. The next one down is the general, I think.
Right, and then there's the third one where the wings are brown.
Yep.
The horse has got barding on its head instead of just a bare head. So, like, if there's some sort of like, because that person's out there. Well, no, it can't be this one because your Pegasus doesn't have this. That person exists.
That person does exist, and you know what my opinion of that is. If they want to be like that, find somebody else to play with. Like, seriously. Realistically, when it comes to games of this size, you're probably going to need to have multiple of this anyway.
Yeah. My only thought is if it's a sanctioned Games Workshop tournament, you may not be able to get around that guy being that guy. So, I'm just devil's advocating that. The rider, you probably magnetize that rider super easy, swap it in and out for whatever you want from game to game.
Yep.
Personally, I would have barding on mine because whoever's going to like hop on in full armor with weapons and go into battle and not give your mount any, the ASPA should be called on you, and you should be arrested for animal cruelty.
Something that's really going to excite some old-time fans is that we actually are getting Knights of the Realm on foot now, which is something that never happened the first time around. It was one of those things that was always talked about and never happened. And this can be easily swapped and changed out with some old kits that will be returning. So you'll also see the Pegasus Knights are coming back. These are the old kits, hence why the sculpting isn't, because these are very old. We got Knights of the Realm, which is literally the old Knights of the Realm. You'll notice they don't look as impressive as the new things. Men-at-Arms, and this is where Knights of the Realm are where you'll probably want to swap some of your bonus heads and stuff around. Men-at-Arms, which is like the lowest of the low. Peasant Bowmen, because the Knights of Bretonnia have this weird thing where they're forbidden for using ranged weapons. It's something that makes sense in the lore, apparently. We have the handmade...
3/4 of your army is mounted cavalry, so you can move across the board like that. You don't need to shoot. True. So,
we've got Handmaiden of the Lady. We've got some other stuff. This is the stuff that have been previewed already. So we've seen the lady on the unicorn before, and these knights. These are the ones that are all Forge World resin. And then this last one, which is the Field Trebuchet. Now, this is literally a returning kit. And, George, you're probably not going to like this next bit. So this was originally a metal kit that was notoriously nigh on impossible to build. Bad enough that Games Workshop actually acknowledged it during the stream last night, how bad this used to be. And how many complaints they used to get. Like, they actually acknowledged that. So this is going to be done in Forge World resin, which I would... I know, I have the same opinion of Forge World, but realistically, it's probably the best choice there if they don't want to resculpt it. And I would probably argue that this is something that's not worth resculpting. Not yet, at least. You'd want to see how the game sells first.
This model right here, not looking at the actual crew, just the trebuchet itself, you don't need to resculpt this.
No, there's no reason. You're just spending money for no reason. This is already fun.
This is absolutely gorgeous. If you're going to do anything Games Workshop, bite the bullet, suck it up, make a mold, hard plastic it. Make it easy to put together.
You have to resculpt it to do that.
Not that much. I don't think they would have to do nearly the resculpt you'd think. It's a simple, straightforward model. You got...
But hard plastic injection doesn't work the same way that resin and metal does. You would have to resculpt it.
I understand, but
we're much that you may as well be resculpting it anyway.
I think you could take that design and adapt it over into a hard plastic mold without a lot of headache and issue. We're talking like a lot of straight, and straight lines and natural corners, not like a torso and legs. So.
Yeah, but every other time that they've done this, they've resculpted it for that reason, and they wouldn't if they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Why do we still have fine cast? Because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Games Workshop are actively trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. The only other thing I think they could do to make this model look better is get rid of the humans and put dwarves, and it's perfect.
Well, I'll be right back. I gotta make a phone call.
Oh, good. Yes, but this is Bretonnia, which is a human kingdom, so that would...
I know.
All right.
Dirty humans.
Moving on. We have
Perfect time for him to have to make a phone call because it's the stuff he doesn't have that much input on. Oh my god, that is awesome!
I know, right? So this is a renewal of a character that came in the very first Age of Sigmar box. If you scroll about halfway down, George, you'll see somebody sitting on a Griffhound, or whatever the Griff Beast.
It's not a Griffhound. It is a I can't remember. I've got like two of them. And, yeah,
the guy next to him is one of the very first models that came out.
A Lord Relictor that you could only get in the box.
Yep, this is that character returning.
Ooh!
So this is the first time in Age of Sigmar history we're getting a new sculpt of a character, and I think it's worth it. They did give reasons as to why he's been away in the lore, and it sounded quite cool. I'm not going to go into it here. Go and watch their video. Honestly, this is easily one of the highlights of the show for me. This is phenomenal. It's just beautiful. Like I know there's people out there that moan every time we get like over sculpted detail, but this is the sort of stuff that you don't get if they're not doing it.
Here's the thing. I am okay with over sculpted detail if it is on the right miniature. If we are talking like, here's your squad of 20 with over sculpted details, you're killing me here. If it's this dude who is a centerpiece, who is a hero character, I'm going to be really PO'd if there's not too much detail. These are the characters you want the too much detail on. These are the characters that you want to spend, the multiple hours upon hours of painting because it is the centerpiece to an army, not a support of.
Agreed. So, for those that are only listening to the audio and not the video version of this, we're talking about Lord Relictor Ionis Cryptborn. And he's basically, let's be fair, it's a 40k chaplain, but it's on a dragon. Like, this is literally what we're looking at. And I will say that this is sculpted gorgeously enough that George hasn't even made his usual rant about how it's sitting on a terrain piece that may not fit with the rest of your army. It's also, I would probably argue, a generic enough thing that you would get away with it, but
I had completely glossed over that because of how awesome he looks and his that
was kind of my point. It was good enough that you didn't notice.
Until you said it, it's like, oh yeah, there's stupid terrain on there now. Thanks, Bruce. You ruined it. Now I'm looking at the damn terrain.
No, but to be fair, in all of these, they've always been done with where you're gluing it on. I mean, this sculpt is not going to work if it doesn't have something that it's sitting on. But if you wanted to change whatever that thing is, I'd also argue that it's generic enough that this could just be sitting in the middle of whatever your army is based on.
No, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's generic enough that you could do your snow basing, your wasteland basing, whatever, because it's a piece of ruin coming out of it. If you scroll down to the little other mounted dude where he's standing on the rock, bold of you to assume my terrain has rocks.
Yep.
To have a ruined building, that's easy to get around. Rocks, as simple as a rock is, no, the rock will tick me off more.
Yep. I agree. And the very last preview on this was another 2 of the winged dragon guys that you can get. They are a different kit. I believe that this is all coming as part of one box. So this is going to be one of those limited box sets that you will then be able to buy separately later on. So depending on your view of that, I don't necessarily hate or love that, but it's just interesting to see. We've got Socks coming back. Quickly, Socks, the guy on the dragon. Do you have thoughts?
Hang on, are we on? What story are we on? Sorry, I've been.
So we're going one story ahead. We're looking at the Lord Relictor Ionis Cryptborn.
The guy on the dragon, the red dragon.
Yes.
He does look pretty nice. The colors on the dragon are pretty awesome.
The colors of that paint scheme are. We've been talking for like 5 minutes about how pretty this thing is, basically.
Yeah.
Socks. Do you know how impressed I was by this miniature, Socks?
Very impressed.
I was so impressed by it, but I didn't even notice this until Bruce pointed it out. I didn't bitch about the obligatory terrain until he pointed it out.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't realize it
didn't
until
even
now
see it.
either.
All right, moving on, because there is a few things in here. This I actually think puts the previous one and just stomps all over it. So we're getting we're getting something new for the Sylvaneth.
Sylvaneth.
Thank you. We've got a new insect monster beast thing. It's the first Thorn of Kurnoth, which apparently is somebody very important in the old world that I don't know about.
So the Kurnoth are like an elite type of. There's archers and swordsmen, so he's like a Kurnoth general type.
Yeah, it's one of the old gods, basically. But he is sitting on a gorgeous beetle. Now, they already have a beetle monster that was also very pretty, but I think this one puts it...
Very, very huge.
Yes, and this is quite big. I don't remember exactly how big it was, but they did say, and I don't. But
the Kurnoths are about yay tallish.
And
I
this
think.
Guy is bigger again.
So I would guess he's probably about this big. So it's probably the size of a regular knight, probably. Height wise, anyways.
But they did say how big he was, and they were using the guy because this is like the champion of the Kurnoths. And he's like significantly larger than them or something. So like this beetle is going to be massive. I love the stinger in the back. Like it's just really pretty. I'm hoping that you can pose these wings in a couple of different ways. I suspect that you won't be able to, but I kind of really want to be able to spread the wings out a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that you won't be able to though.
I think I might need to get me one of these.
Before I move on to the next thing, socks. Giant beetle or giant dragon?
Kind of like the beetle, actually.
Yay! Does
I
this
really
mean we all agree?
I mean, just the way his wings are kind of unfolded out a little bit, almost looks like he's about ready to fly off or just landed or something like that. So I really like it.
As I said, I might have to get one of these because I've been wanting to add some Kurnoth to my Sylvaneth that I picked up on the Christmas sale last year.
Yep.
And this guy is just...
Here's your chance.
Right?
And
this looks
down the
so
bottom,
good.
you'll notice that there are some other flying things that are coming as well.
Yes. Which,
Are they Kurnoth that's on the back of them?
Those are not Kurnoth. Those are other Wraith dudes. The three in the back with the bows, those Archers. Are Kurnoth.
There's your scale size.
Yeah.
So that thing is huge.
So the other flying things, the mounts, those are regular kind of marine size, I think.
Oh, so do they already exist?
Oh yeah. Well, so not the bug, but the guys on the bug do already exist.
Oh,
they're probably.
Yeah.
The guys, the other three little ones.
Are they also new?
I think those are new too.
That's
not.
What I thought. I thought you were telling me that they existed, and I was getting confused.
The guys on the backs do, and they're about yay tall.
Okay. Right.
So we can use that as a scale of he's about 2.5 times taller than those little mounts or the little guys on the other flyers.
Other bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The last thing, as far as Games Workshop is concerned, is the preview of the preview, and this is kind of showing all of the stuff that's on preview for this, that I'm skipping right past because I don't care, because the very last item on this is the only thing I want to talk about, because I would argue that this is the surprise of the year. This is not the first time they've done this, but previously you could only buy this book if you went to Warhammer World. They have the Rogue Trader book up for pre-order.
Ooh.
Print on demand. In Australia, you're looking at $90. And as far as I can tell from my research, this is direct only. I have not found any third parties that have this up for pre-order. So I think you're going to be stuck with the $90 price tag. I don't know what it is for you.
Probably 75-ish, I would say, maybe 60.
How much is your general rulebook? Socks is breaking things over there. You could look at the Games Workshop website and have a look at your price, because it should be up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Because, seriously, I think this is the surprise of the year. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Though there is now part of me that's going back and remembering all of those second edition videos that I've been seeing by people that just want to do old stuff lately. And
okay.
Like, has this been a big conspiracy all along? But that's just me being a conspiracy nut. I don't actually think that's the case.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, well, maybe it's not up for you yet. I'm really surprised by this. Like, there hasn't been... I don't get nostalgic for the old stuff. Like, I have no nostalgia for Rogue Trader. But, like, none at all. Because I wasn't into the hobby until long after this. Like, my first connection is, like, 3.5 ed. When the Tau first came in. And then... I found it. Yeah?
$65 US.
That's not too bad.
So, and then when I go look at just regular 40K...
I was just saying that because it was kind of around that price for us. So, I just assume it would be around that.
Yeah, it's the same price as the regular Warhammer Core 40K rulebook. So that's a really kind of cool thing. If you're like one of those old school players of, you got rid of your stuff and, $65 is a small price to get a piece of history back. It's not the original.
No, but you're not buying it. You're buying it because you want it. I mean, you can go and find copies of the original if you want. You'll be paying a lot more than this, though. I'd rather have one that's in good condition and actually new.
Well, and one that I wouldn't feel too badly about, like, sitting there and, like, handling it constantly and, like, reading it, If I were to go get an original, like, 87 one and, like, it'd go in a box on the shelf and I wouldn't read it.
And that's assuming that you're lucky enough to have one where the pages aren't falling out.
Right, exactly.
In a plastic clear case, all it's going to do is just sit there sealed.
I have zero nostalgia for this. I have zero interest in even really playing Rogue Trader. But I'm still actually tempted to grab this. I don't know. I'm tempted to grab it because it's something that... I mean, I don't really collect rulebooks. In fact, I have a 9th edition rulebook over there. I've literally been... I offered it to some friends for free because I didn't play it. I don't care.
Is everything else just a normal order coming to the store, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is all just on the web store. The only reason I skipped past it is they weren't the things I was interested in. Like the case from last episode is up, and it's actually got the models inside it finally.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because there's that League of Votann character. Do I have to get that now, or do I have to, can I wait when I get, the rest of it?
You would have to get that now, because that's the commemorative miniature. You can either order it online, so long as you do it before Monday the 6th of November, so you have time, or you can order it from your local store. But I'm pretty sure this has to be ordered from an actual Warhammer store.
They're not my actual local store, which I don't know if you guys know this, about 2.5 hours north of me, they're opening a store.
Games Workshop.
In Wyoming. Yeah.
That's unusual. They don't normally open stores in places that don't exist.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. Let's actually go back to talking about some indies. Socks, do you remember what you said about this next article when you first looked at it?
The cargo ship is massive. 7.5 feet.
This thing is huge. So
if you build it with all the compartments of the ship.
Yeah. Monster Fight Club, we've looked at these guys a couple of times. These guys had like the 3D printable city that was also going to be released as actual plastic kits that you could buy. They're doing this again, but this time it's with an actual container shipyard. So I've got actual different sizes of shipping containers, which exist in the real world, but never really happen from a storefront. You usually just get the one size from a storefront point of view. You've got some normal containers, some half-size containers. You got bridge connector bits if you want to make buildings out of them. You have hab container sets where they've been converted into stores and houses and stuff. They have thought this through and then some. And then you get to the giant centerpiece that is the shipping boat that I have never seen anybody do. I mean, people may have made their own. I've never seen a company do these. And it's nuts. I mean, if you want to buy...
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I mean, the price of, like, this is going to be, like, big. Like, it's going to be very big. There is also a version that has the actual cranes and everything that I have seen versions of before. Or, alternatively, this is where we start getting into the actual container sets and so forth, add-ons and so forth. So the dock crane is like a $300 add-on. The container ship is very expensive because of how big it is.
Jeez.
Have you seen how big this thing is, George? I don't know why you're surprised.
I don't care. That's a lot of money for a ship. If I'm going to spend that kind of money on the ship, I'm going to go get the flag carrier from when I was a kid.
I have a better idea, George. Just buy the digital versions of them. Because you can 3D print your own.
First, I'm going to need a 3D printer that I'm not going to throw through a window first.
So you can buy a digital version of the container ship for $100. Like, this thing is massive. I cannot stress this enough. It is huge. Like, you could go nuts with this. I mean, my first thought, obviously, is Entropy City. It's something that would fit very well in that world. I would just have to rust everything up and paint it to make it look like it's worn. And then we're getting into, like, they're also offering previous stuff. So I actually own the Trees and Hills set. It's actually a very nice set. I do recommend it. I haven't seen the Ice Wilds. And then, yeah, we're getting back into stretch goals and stuff. But this is the sort of terrain piece that belongs on Kickstarter, because this is the sort of thing that just doesn't exist if you don't put it on Kickstarter.
This is not a terrain piece. This is a game board.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Can you? I went stupid. Yeah, play a game of Infinity on this.
Oh,
you'd play more than Infinity on this.
No, that's the first thing that pops in my head. Like, you know, I mean, this is like, you know, Winter Soldier. Like, you know, this is so cool.
That container ship is 7.5 feet long.
Yes, I read that, and I can do math. Like 1, 2, I can do that.
I literally just did that while you were ranting. I knew it was big. I just hadn't counted it all up previously. Like, this thing is huge. It's bigger than a Warhammer board.
It's longer than I am tall.
Hey, that's a good point. So it's bigger than the old G.I. Joe one.
To put this into perspective, this is as long as Shaquille O'Neal is tall.
Yeah. Like I said, this is the reason that Kickstarter exists. There's no way this would ever be sold outside of a Kickstarter. Because
how
you'd never
wide
be
is
able
this?
to justify creating it.
I gotta know how wide this is now.
I don't know if that's.
I thought.
My guess would be that it's a foot wide, but that's a guess. Custom 8x2 game mats. I don't actually know. I'm sure it does say in this text somewhere how big it is, but Oh, hang on. It's 17 inches wide. So it's just over it's like, what, a foot and a half?
Just under a foot and a half.
Yeah, it's
What
nuts.
What am I doing?
I got one.
Yeah, but that doesn't help him. He wants to see it for himself.
Holy
massive.
crap!
It's huge.
That is huge.
Yes. There's a reason why I'm going, yes, I know it's expensive, but there's a
Good
reason it's
Lord.
expensive. It's
Hang on. I got a call.
huge. We do apologise for Socks, folks. He's kind of dealing with a couple of things work-wise. So he's trying to be with us and trying to do other things that's kind of got thrown. All of this has happened 5 minutes before we started recording. But we're going to move across. And George, I think I might let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah. So,
You're familiar with the war. I mean, I've spoken about Organizer before, but you and JP, who is listening, have both actually printed versions of these, or at least started in your case before your printer kicked up.
Before my printer became a liability. Yeah. So, Organizer Project Leviathan. So, JP and I both have, the smaller, like kill team size, Shatterpoint size. Like one of the other things was our Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yep.
But just a small army, which and it's a nice 3D printable carrying case. This is bigger. This could hold a modest 40k army. This could hold a modest Legion army. The all-in is fairly reasonable. I managed to grab an early bird for 35 Canadian, so about $26 US.
It's pretty good value, honestly. Like, it seriously is.
Which
good value.
Which I didn't even realize that when
for us in Australia.
I didn't even realize that when I backed it. I saw $35. Yeah, I'll spend $35 on that. I didn't realize I was getting 26. So it's pretty close. Let's see if we can. It looks like. Oh, I guess you can't see it too well. I've got a. So inside, there's a little slotted grid for putting the shelves in, which looks to be about as big as my double stack shelf storage I have for the desktop. But he's just he closed it and turned it into a case. And he's done some testing. So here's the important part, because everyone's just like, oh, it's 3D printed. How strong is it?
Oh, yeah.
If you scroll down.
Yeah.
So using PLA filament with 10% infill, it can hold 25 pounds on this one on the handle. That's pretty good for a 3D print, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those that don't speak the silly weights, it's just under an 11.5 kilo.
And he says, oh wait, maybe I've read something wrong and I'm about to say something I shouldn't. So yeah, I'm not going to say what I was about to say because I don't see what I thought I read.
Yeah.
The
first thing I want to say is that there was a point on the original small version where you could double it up to be larger, but even that does not compare with how big this one is. And you can see that just with the models that he has stored inside of it. But before I come to my main thought, I'm wondering if Socks has any thoughts.
About the organizer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, folks. We're dealing with work stuff right now. I've been dealing with it all day. But on the organizer, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's good to see all these different storage options coming out here available, whether it's foam or these 3D printed kits. I've sold all my Legion stuff except for one army. So I have no use for big storage stuff like this really anymore. But if I had all my Legion stuff, I'd like the hard case. I mean, I've been using soft case stuff for a long time, but I think the hard case can be useful too. So,
anything else you want to say before I get into my little thing?
I was going to say, by default, it looks like it's a double wide, like that upgrade kit for the original organizer, and then it's 2 organizers tall. So this is 4 times the original organizer size it looks like.
And because it's been designed to be that way to begin with, there's no questions as to how well it'll stay together because it's been designed to be one piece. So,
Now, the next thing I'm going to say before I let you say your thing, Bruce, is he does specifically in the what kind of printer do I need? He goes through and breaks it down specifically what he uses, what it's designed for, and what you will need and what you can get away
I
with.
can see that. 350 mil by 350 mil bed.
Yes. Which I think is great because also I'm still going to back this. I'm still going to get this because I've about had this one. I was really anxious to try Anycubic. I don't think I'm going to even try a resin printer from them now at this point.
Which is a shame because I've had nothing but pleasure from mine. The only problems I've ever had with my Photons, like the previous one, are problems that I caused, which I know is not what happened with you.
Yeah. So when I do get another filament printer, I am going to make sure that I do just get a large form factor so that I'm not restricted by size.
Yep.
So, Bruce, you were going to say.
Okay. So, George shared this with me last night, and my initial thought when I saw this was, and let me finish, JP, because I know you're going to say the same thing that I thought George was going to say. My initial thought with this was, this guy has a Patreon. What is this doing on Kickstarter? My initial thought was that I didn't think it was appropriate. However, I looked at this a little further, because I remember that there was comments very early on when we first talked about it, about how they wanted a bigger one. And the fact of the matter is that if he wasn't doing a Kickstarter, I don't think it would have been worth him actually risking it. Now, granted, at the time he's launched the Kickstarter, he's already done most of the work on this. But if anything, that just helps him from a publicity point of view. I mean, there are no risks for people if they want to back this at this stage. It's something that's literally ready to go. All it needs to be is paid for. So, as much as my initial thought was, I don't understand why this is on Kickstarter. I can see why this is on Kickstarter. Like, you don't launch something like this on Patreon. Like, this is something that you use to try to draw in new customers. It'd be interesting to know whether his Patreons are getting anything out of this for supporting him outside of it. Because in theory, I believe that the Patreon is supposed to be getting first access to all of his new stuff on the Warganizer. But this isn't technically the same Warganizer. So I don't know how he's dealing with that. But no, this is what Kickstarter is for.
So, and here would be my argument to that is, how are people going to find out about this? If you look at Kickstarter and what it's become so much more than just a crowdfunding, as well as a advertising platform of check this new thing out. If he didn't do this on Kickstarter, would he make, the $5,389? He'd probably make just a quarter of that. So as much as some companies like CMON and have abused it, and companies like Mythic have extorted it, I think a guy this size, one shop ish kind of thing, where this is what he's doing something like this. This is the appropriate thing for this type of platform.
And to answer my original question about what the Patreons are getting out of this, it looks like the Patreons are going to be getting the expansions that come for this once it's been released. So he's already been talking about token trays and other stuff that will be going onto the Patreon. And there's Patreons that have commented about how they've only gone for the basic pledge because they don't need the extra stuff because it comes on Patreon. So he is supporting both, which is good. Not that I really questioned whether he was. It was just I didn't know the answer to that question, and I wanted to be thorough in what I was saying. Because there may have been other people that had the same thoughts that I do. And although I don't have that thought anymore, I thought it was worth bringing up because there are other people that will have thought that way. I genuinely think this is going to be good. It's currently sitting at... So he was aiming for 5,000 Canadian. It's currently sitting at 7.3 thousand. It's not doing too badly for what it is. I mean, this is not going to be $1 million campaign. And there's no way that it ever could be because it's not that sort of product. But I would argue that he's doing pretty well. I don't know what he's aiming for, but I would be happy with that if I was him.
To me,
Especially for 2
it's like,
days.
yeah, it's a good down payment on a new car.
Yeah. Like he's 2 days
or a good
in and
vacation.
he's already at like $7,300. That's a pretty good 2 days.
Ooh, I didn't even see that. I'm only on the just the base one. I didn't even realize there was the early bird and stretch goal for $41, which that's still a good deal.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on.
Last
Another
one
company?
for the day, we are looking at some stuff for Drop Zone from TC Combat. Starting with the Resisti gun buses are back.
Oh, I like these so
I
much.
have always loved these. This is a new version of the buses, though, I believe, unless I'm wrong. But I don't believe
This is a
had
new
the gun
version
buses
because
before.
Normally the buses have the little turrets on top. We don't.
Yes,
we've
you're
never.
right. It's resculpted.
We've never seen the buses where they've pretty much chopped the bus in half down to the floorboard of the bus and put a huge gun mount on the back of it.
I love
Thoughts?
how rudimentary it looks.
Does that one look like the PHR bombardment cannon almost?
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Yes.
The one with the triple barrel. It does look like the bombardment cannon from the PHR.
It's going to be much smaller, though.
Well, yeah, obviously, because
Yeah.
that's a big PHR ship, you know. The other one just looks like your traditional,
Looks like that
conventional.
88.
Yeah, I was gonna say your conventional artillery cannon that's towed behind a 5-ton wagon.
Yeah.
Or on the
mounted
base of a ship.
Actually, it's called the G88 flat cannon.
Oh, it's literally a cannon from a ship.
No. The 88 flat cannon was the most prolific anti-air cannon that the Germans used in World War II.
Okay, fair enough. I really like what they've done here. I love that the sculpting of it kind of shows how rudimentary it's been. Like, this hasn't been done professionally. It's been done with just what that they could get away with. I love the fact that they're clearly using weapons that they have just stolen from other people at some point, because that's very clearly not a human-designed weapon. It's very clearly a PHR one. I really like what they're doing here. And it doesn't take much to change them.
I have one tiny little complaint.
Yep.
So it's very obvious. The one is a school bus because it's a traditional school bus shape and yellow paint job. The other one, it's obviously a Greyhound bus. Why does it not look like a Greyhound bus? Come on, get some color up.
They haven't painted it that way.
They need to.
But that's what it is. And you'd need to see the little bit of a dog head coming off there. It is a Greyhound bus with a giant cannon on it now.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, George. Yellow buses are fairly globally known as school buses. Greyhound buses are not an international. I know what you're talking about because they were advertised on TV when I was younger. But like Greyhound buses are not a thing everywhere else. That is just a
That's fair. That's fair. I will accept that answer.
Yeah. Also, like most buses are like made by one company and then repainted to be a million different things. So, yeah. We also have the PHR Atlas Walker, which is the light behemoth for the PHR. And
I like this guy too.
It's like a giant scorpion, basically. The scorpion basically being what I said was my favorite sculpt in the game. I don't know if I like the head of it. That's probably the only criticism I would have. It looks like a polar bear to me.
I was gonna say it's giving me a vibe of it. It looks like a PHR Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah,
yes.
I can see that. What's the walking fish thing called? Axolotl?
Yeah, I think
could
so.
see axolotl in this. It just doesn't have like the wavy fins.
Yeah, the little fins on the back of it.
I'm sorry, but they're going to have to release a kit where it's got little wavy things on the side of its head. I do like
this. I suppose.
I mean,
this baby got back too. I broke George.
No, because I know exactly what you're talking about, because the back end It's like a lot of cars from the 80s.
Yep.
They do all the designing on the front, and then they get to the back, and they're like, well, "Here's a boot."
Yep.
Yeah,
We're done. It's like,
But
here's the back of it,
and that's why I like it. It looks like it's that way on purpose.
it's like a 40-year-old guy. It's the back end, the backside's flat.
The nice thing about this is the two very different variants is one of them can hold up 20 infantry, so it's a infantry transport. And then you got the other variant with the two huge triple railgun battery. So, two very different mission types and ways you could use this, which I think I would use the light behemoths more than I would use the actual behemoths in the game. Honestly, myself.
When I swap between both of them, it looks like it's being transformed between one and the other. I mean, I know that's not what's going on, but I can kind of see it like folding back in on itself, if that makes sense.
I can see that.
Oh yeah, like it's stowing the guns in the
in the way that only makes sense in a cartoon, because obviously these panels disappear. But I don't know, I like that you can see how it's done. Not like because I realise that those guns are not on the troop transport one, but you can see the bits that come off and what comes on it.
Yeah.
How about the Shaltari light behemoth?
Yes, I still like the Shaltari light behemoth. We had spoken about that a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, it does look cool too with this.
Yeah.
I like everything about it except for the rear feet. Again.
Yeah, we had issues with the first one. The giant one with the Shaltari.
It's just a smaller version of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's... The PHR have the best walking things in the game. Like, don't get me wrong.
This is not a light behemoth. I was wrong when I said that. I thought it was the same equivalent, but it's not. It's actually much smaller than I think it is.
Oh, it's not a light behemoth. It doesn't say that, does it?
No, it's just a medium heavy walker. Sorry, that's my mistake. I misunderstood what.
So this is the size. This is probably the size of a Hades then.
It's probably
which is the size of the Scorpion.
So I apologize for that. That was me misreading what I was looking at. I assumed it was something that it wasn't.
Also, did we get any clarification on Captain Louis? If that was a moniker to the owner of the company or no?
I never actually officially asked. I'm just making assumptions there because it's fun. I think they've done really, really well here. The Atlas Walker is probably one of my favourite things they've released for Zone in some time. And I do like what they released for Zone. I'm not saying otherwise. It's just that's probably my favourite thing they've done for Zone in quite a while. Since the Behemoth, probably.
The PHR walkers, like I don't like the way that army works. I don't like the way it plays, but God, I love the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
That's their primary force is all walkers. Yeah, you have a few small skimmer tanks and some troop tanks, but for the most part, your main battle force is all walkers.
I mean, it's like that hot girlfriend. She looks good, but everything else about her I can't stand.
I'm really curious where the light behemoth is for the Scourge and for the PHR, because we've had a UCM one, and we've had
a Resistance.
They let Dave out of the closet for like a couple hours to do something, so he doesn't finish designing him yet.
I don't know if we do have a Resistance one, do we?
We do. It's the light drill. It's the Avernus mining engine.
Of course it is. Yes. Of course it is. And we obviously have the Shaltari one because we were just talking about it. But we haven't seen the other two yet. I'm guessing that they're probably still maybe a month or so away. They're obviously...
No, we have talked about
this. There. So it's just the PHR then?
PHR have one too. It's the Alconius Light Behemoth. It's the one with the huge 3 missiles sticking out of the front and 2 railguns on the sides. We've looked at them all.
I'm just forgetting then.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think they've been releasing them about a month or so in between. So we've been hitting them as they come out, but it's probably been 2 or 3 episodes in between.
Oh yeah, this PHR one, the one with the big nose.
The big huge snoot nose.
Yeah.
It literally looks like a big nose.
Yep. No, I remember that now. Oh, there we go. I just have a bad memory because I'm old. All right.
It happens.
It does.
And the UCM have one too. It's Delight Brazil.
Yes. Yeah, I said that earlier.
Okay.
Or I misspoke, one or the other. Shall we move on?
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
So, this week, I'm talking about Ramshackle Games. Now, this is a company that came to mind for me for the first thing that we're going to look at, because they have something I pre-ordered called the Fox Box. I'm really hoping I'm pressing on the right thing. There's a whole heap of Goblin Raider tanks that are just like short, stubby, silly, cartoony-looking tanks that look like they're out of a video game from the 80s. And I love everything about them. Like, they are so cool. But that got me looking, and I'm like, no, what? I don't want to cover them for the news. I want to cover them wider. So these are resin things for whatever you want to use them for, really. There's a whole heap of different turrets that you can buy for them, but they are really silly-looking tanks. And, like, they're supposed to, because that's kind of the whole point. I love these things. They are just so much fun and so silly. They just look like they're straight out of Tank Battles, which is an old video game where you were going around a maze and trying to shoot people around a corner. But they do a lot more than just that. So, up the top of the website, there's like links to all different categories. I'm going to start with the orcs, just because it's Orktober. Why would I not talk about orcs? And we have a whole... I could have just started here. The tanks were in there as well. We have a whole hell of a lot of things. Jack Goblington is just fun. It's a goblin wearing a Halloween mask. We have loo rolls as a dedication to morons during the pandemic. We have alternate arms for things. We have Berserker, which is clearly a goblin that's just gotten too big for his britches. Father Crumpmus is maybe my favourite thing here. I quite like Bustin' Cap too. But Father Crumptus, like, this is just so dumb in the best way. And I love the fact that he thinks that he's flying. Or maybe he is flying, but it's just like it's been built on scrap, essentially. I don't know what the dog is. They're supposed to be what are they called? The walking mouths. Squigs, thank you. That's obviously what that is supposed to be, but there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm only looking at the orcs at this stage. We can also move across, because the next one that I'm going to open up is sci-fi. I think. No, I've already got that open. Aha! 28. There's the range of toy car scale range, which is a whole heap of stuff that would just coincidentally work really well for Gaslands. I mean, it's a complete coincidence. These are all additions for things that you can add to to Hot Wheels and stuff. And they have a 20mm biker gang, which is just all kinds of fun. Because bikes for that scale are not the easiest thing to come across. I mean, you can come across them, but they're not the easiest thing. We've also got civilian vehicles, which is something we see a little bit of, but not a lot. And these appear to be like farming and truck equipment that could work in the 40k world. I mean, it doesn't have to be 40k, but that's kind of what makes sense. I quite like the Gopher. The Gopher's fun. It just looks like it looks like a Tonka toy from when we were kids. Did you have Tonka toys?
Yes.
Yep.
We still have Tonka toys because they're made of steel and they've survived.
There's also a half ute, and I love the fact that they're calling it a ute because it's such an Australian thing. I don't think anybody else uses that term because it's a utility vehicle. I love the fact that they've painted their truck to look like Optimus Prime. And you can't tell me that's not done on purpose, because very clearly it is. Like, there's just some really cool looking stuff here. Lots of
George, they have dwarves on bikes.
Ooh, I missed the dwarves on bikes.
Where are the dwarves on bikes?
Go to bikes.
Click on dwarves, or go to dwarves.
Dwarves!
Dwarves.
Dwarf bikers.
There you go.
Ah, this is cool.
Hey, it's better than the original squats.
Yep. Well, they clearly did this because people were complaining.
Oh
Get the
my
proper things back.
God!
Yep. No, this
So,
is
if you click on one of the photos, they're all named.
Yes.
There's Barclay, Davis, Norbert, Tags, Trike and Gunner, Bob, just Bob, Soldier Chunky,
Norbert. This is brilliant. Yep. That's brilliant. They do have other figure set range. I'm not going to go into all of them, but Victorian sci-fi, mutants, mutant plants, premium urethane? The hell? Oh, they're just like weird sci-fi monsters. Okay. Models in the premium urethane. Oh, no, they're literally it's just what they're making them from. Okay, fair enough.
It's the creature from the Black Lagoon.
It is. It's no, it's just creature. It just happens to look like that.
To pigeonhole him into one lagoon, that's not right. He could be from many different types of lagoon.
Exactly. No, Ramshackle games have so many different things on here. It's just, yeah. You could spend all day looking at this, but I think we've got a nice little taste here. I would recommend checking them out. They just look really fun, especially if you want to do stuff that fits into that world, but is not necessarily something that's produced.
Well, it's more. It's not to say there's anything wrong with it, but it's got more of that, the feel, the infancy of the hobby. From like the late '80s, early '90s, where things were still being learned and developed, and it's that very nostalgic look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cream, glue, prime, paint.
What have you been up to, Socks? Even though
Stuff.
we already know that.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen my YouTube release has it been posted?
No. It'll come out this week.
Okay. Anyways.
Mine needs to get released, actually. I just remembered that.
Yeah, yours is on Monday. Socks is going to be Thursday.
So this past week, I got 2 boxes of the Scions of Jutland for Dystopian Wars. So I've been putting them together because why not? And started painting them. Talked with George. As you know, my Imperium fleet is kind of a dark gray with some Prussian blues. George taught me, this is my Asgard. And it's going with a dark green fleet color. This is my Valhalla with some midget subs on the back that launches out.
You should write hobby on the side of the thing somewhere.
I was going to say you should get full sponsorship for that ship and do ValhallaHobby.com on the...
Right? That's my little Valkyrie. So I've got a squad of 4 little Valkyries flying around. So I've been putting these things together. Absolutely loving these things. So that's what I've been working on this week. Hopefully get some more colors on these over the next couple weeks and get them ready.
Nice. What about you, George?
I have not been up to much. I'm going to actually be cramming for a test here coming up.
Good luck.
Well, it's a Microsoft test too, so it's even worse.
Okay.
Yeah, professional stuff. I did, however, break out my Lords of Ragnarok and go through the setup of that to, because it has a specific solo play rulebook. So I broke that out, and the ease of understanding the components of a game and setting it out onto the board is a huge thing when starting a game for the first time. And the most difficult part I had for this game, and this may sound ridiculous, which side of the game board do I use?
Oh,
Because
that's not a that's no good.
well, it is once you get it figured out. Because there's a 2-player side of the board, or there's the other side where you play with up to 4 players, or the solo mode. Then if you have the expansion like I do for the stretch goals, you put it back to the 2-player side and you attach another part for the 5-player mode.
Oh, okay.
So the neoprene the neoprene mat is huge. It is literally almost too big for my table. It is a huge neoprene mat. So I was using the regular fold-out cardboard. And so going through and once I figured out what side the game board was on and what emblem to look through, the setup was just super quick. I need these cards. If you're doing 2-player, it's the one with the 2-player icon. If you're not doing 2-player, you don't use those. So I didn't actually go through and start doing any of the actual the playthrough of the game, but because literally some of these games, the first time you set up, it takes you nearly 2 to 3 hours to set it up as you're figuring it out. Bruce, prime example. Nemesis. How long did it take you to set up Nemesis for the first time?
Oh, forever. I still feel like I'm setting it up sometimes.
Yeah, so some of these games, when you learn to set up, I bet even Gettysburg is probably the same way with Socks, right?
Yeah. Set up all my brigades, all my regiments.
Well, it's you take 2 hours to go through and set up, then you have everyone come and play it for hour, an hour and a half. So, and going through and doing that again, I feel like there's so many things I missed on my unboxing of just the awesomeness of the miniatures that Awakened Realms does.
Nice.
I know there's a lot of companies that go through CMON. I mean, they've got great miniatures, but the aesthetic that Awakened Realms does with this, it's very Norse. I mean, it's called Lords of Ragnarok. But that sci-fi element that they have, that they threw into it, just is so awesome and amazing.
And unique.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen somebody
totally...
even Marvel, when they updated it to make it work in their comics, the sci-fi does it, it doesn't look sci-fi. It still looks... It's just an updated Norse. This is genuinely something that felt new.
Yeah, for sure. It's if you take some of the I guess the technology feel, how they had the hex patterns and stuff for Nemesis, they just straight up did that on the sails and some of the cloaks for these. There's no reason to do that other than let's give it this for the side, and it's like that signature that a company has. And Awakened Realms has done such a great job with it.
I just want to acknowledge a couple of things that our Patreons have said. First things first, I'm not the only one throwing shade at Socks. I love this one. Socks is out, tag me in.
Yeah, no. I saw that
earlier.
Was
brilliant.
That was shade.
JP also, because I was kind of asking questions about with the organizer, some of which I found answers to and some of which I didn't. He actually paused his Patreon during the campaign, which I can only applaud him for, because I would argue 90% of the industry wouldn't do that. I mean, it's the right move to make, but nobody else would have done that. And I mean nobody else would have. So, applaud for somebody actually doing the right thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so I was as much as I do like the way CMON does stuff. I'm not talking about their crowdfunding, how they do. I'm talking about their games themselves and how they look and feel. God, Awakened Realms, they're doing it right too.
I think that the big difference here, CMON, a lot of their properties, a lot of their games, are essentially spins on the existing stuff. He-Man is, it's just a spin on Zombicide. I mean, there's definitely major differences there, but you can still see the base of Zombicide there. And a lot of their games are like that. And this is not, I'm actually not throwing shade here. It's just something that you observe over time. And even if I was throwing shade because of that, I would be wrong, because it's not that's not something to criticize. I guess the benefit of Awakened Realms is because they've come in afterwards, they've kind of had to find their own thing. Also, the way that Nemesis worked, there's no way that you could make a Norse game that was like you would have to change because Nemesis was very, very much aliens. Let's be fair, and that would
Oh yeah,
work for
yeah.
a Norse game.
No. I'm talking the aesthetic of the miniatures.
Oh yeah, well that's
Like they took what they did for Nemesis, like that unique look they came up with, and they took some of those aspects and put that into Lords of Ragnarok to give it a different look of a fantasy game than every other fantasy game out there. As I put it, the fantasy sci-fi look. So,
game mechanics is what I was discussing.
I'm not even talking game mechanics. I'm talking the physical appearance. Because let's be honest, some of these games, what gets you? We had a game talk discussion on this. Is the shiny syndrome. Yeah. Some of these games, they get you with the shiny look at this. And Awakened Realms, they've done a really good job with check out our stuff. Look how cool it does look. You want to get this game and play it because of how it looks.
No, they do it very well.
So, yeah, and just like I said, going through and doing the setup of the game, and once I got through and set up, I have no questions that even breaking out, the Kickstarter well, it's not a Kickstarter, but like the stretch goal add-ons and stuff like that of, instead of the cardboard token buildings, breaking out the box that has the actual plastic ones, I could get that set up in probably 30 minutes, ready to go. So, once you learn how to do it, super easy to set up. So, and then here's the downside. It said to do solo mode, you should learn how to play the normal game first. So
that's not unusual, to be fair, but it's
I mean, I just thought that was a little odd. Of like, that was a big thing, and why we got all this like solo play is some people can't get out and go and play a game with people anymore. So here's a solo mode. Oh, but you should learn how to play the game normally with someone else before you do the solo mode. Like,
yeah. To be fair, I feel that He-Man
flip that. Flip that.
When I tried to set up He-Man the first time, like trying to figure it out by myself to play it by myself, I gave up halfway through.
Yeah, it's
like seriously, I gave up halfway through because it was just so I gave up. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, so some game, like the first time I set up a game of Cthulhu Death May Die, it took me a good solid hour and a half. Now, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. It's like that with all games, to be fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's learning how to play the game, and then there's learning how to set up the game.
Yeah, which is always a challenge. For me, hobby-wise, I haven't been doing a lot, because I've been insanely busy with public events. So, I know you guys know this. There is a couple of people in the Patreon. No, I think most of the Patreon should have known. 4 days before PAX, I got asked if I'd be able to fill an empty table. And I don't know if I spoke about it publicly. I had applied for it and I didn't get in because somebody accidentally shared the wrong link and the application I put in was for the previous year's campaign. And I didn't find out about this until after the thing was done, so I didn't get in, and that's fine. Like, I'm not throwing shade. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I had no way of knowing that until I figured out what had gone wrong.
But you still got in.
Well, I did and I didn't. I mean, I got in, but so I got asked 4 days before, which meant that I was in a mad, insane rush to get ready in time. I had DevCon on Thursday, so that was a day that I couldn't prepare. But because it all happened last minute, I also didn't get any of the benefits that you normally would get for demoing at the event. So I was doing it on my own dollar from the passes that I had already paid for. So basically, I had an entire day pass that I didn't get to use. Now, I'm not actually complaining about this. It was a wonderful opportunity. I had a really, really beneficial time. The downside is that I really didn't enjoy PAX this year because I never had the opportunity to. I spent all of Friday trying to chase down last-minute things and problems that I had seen because I had a regular pass and not an entry pass. I couldn't get in to actually set up before the event because I wasn't allowed. In the end, they kind of had to borrow a pass before security would let me in. That's how we got around that. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's just like, everything happened and I'm not throwing shade here. This literally happened 4 days before the event. There was no way of fixing this. It's just the way it happened. Wonderful opportunity. I did get in, and everything got set up. I set up on like a 4x2 table, so it was much smaller than what normally I would be playing, but that just made the games quicker and easier to get into. It went really well, honestly. There was only a matter of about 30 minutes where I didn't have somebody with me, and I was there for about 5 hours going for it.
I mean, to me, it almost sounds like, hey, here's your chance and opportunity to do this. But you can only use one arm to do this whole thing, is what it's kind of sounding like. Where
Look,
you didn't have the benefit and access, and But
to be fair, if I was to do this again, I probably wouldn't accept last minute like I did this time. But I'm not like. I had an incredible time. I'm not actually throwing shade at the people that organised it. Like, they had somebody that got COVID. They needed a table that was free. They knew that I would be keen for it because I had said that I would if they needed someone. They actually asked me about a month or so earlier, there may be a couple of tables free. Would you be interested? And I said yes. And I said this to you guys, but I didn't say, there was a slim chance I might get back in.
Well, and the fact that, someone actually remembered to like, hey, there's this Jason guy. Let's give him a call and see if he can fill this. Like,
yeah.
That's super huge too. So,
like 4 days in, like at that point, there is no way of getting me a pass. Like, there's no way, because it would have already been sent to the previous guy, whose children came down with COVID, and had missed out for the second year in a row. Poor bugger. After like getting through and winning, like he just couldn't because he had family that was sick, and that sucks for whoever that was.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like, couldn't they have just taken your pass, like the organizers, and like wrote or stamped something? But your pass, the one you paid for, take your pass and like do something to it and saying, he has access.
Well,
to get security.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, if I had been an annoying person that would never have been allowed to go in ever again, I'm sure I could have forced something to happen, but I'm not going to be that guy because they have enough to try and organize. Like, they were doing all of this while trying to run their own event at the same time, in a booth to try and sell some of the things that their organization had helped launch previously. And like, I'm acknowledging problems, but I'm not. I have. It's weird, and I kind of, when I said it, I did a post in the Discord to our patrons, and I'm like, it's weird because I can't say that I enjoyed PAX this year because I didn't, but I'm not complaining. I have zero complaints about my experience. It was a wonderful opportunity. I just didn't enjoy it in the way that you normally would because I never had the chance to. In theory, my chance to do that was Saturday afternoon, and I went home and literally collapsed in my bed. I had no energy left because I'd been going for 4 days straight without stopping.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Supers. Like, when you said, I'm going to be at, showing my game off at PAX, like, the first thing I thought was, that's freaking awesome. Forget anything else.
It's
so,
arguably the biggest event of the year.
Yeah, for Australia, yeah. Like, and for them to give you a 2 foot by 4 foot space and say demo your game, like, I can't put into words like how stoked I was for you. Like,
yeah,
it was a very, very big opportunity.
And despite what you're saying, Bruce, if they were to do the same thing to you again, I would tell you, just do it, Bruce. Suck it up and deal with the craziness and get out there and show off.
I will 100%. I will 100% attempt to do this again.
No, but I'm saying even if they get,
I probably wouldn't do it without the other side of the coin as well, just because of there was a lot of.
Okay, okay, that's fair.
Unless I got in properly, I probably wouldn't fill in last minute like I did this time again.
Yeah,
because mentally, it took me 3 days to recover from it. Because I spent 3 days trying to be ready for the event, and then instead of enjoying Friday before I went to the wrestling that night, enjoying myself for the only chance to actually see anything, I spent all of it trying to chase down the pass thing that never actually got solved because They didn't understand the problem. Because they were just, no, I'm just going to let you in. It'll be fine. Which in theory should have been. But security had a rule. And the rule was that you're not allowed in without the right pass. So security were doing the right thing. And it had never come up. So they had no way of knowing that this is going to be an issue. So it's just one of those things that you learn the more that you do events. Like they 100% did nothing wrong. It's just something that shouldn't have been a problem, but it was.
It sounds like everyone was just doing everything right. It just is that
100%.
You just kind of got in the middle of like, hey, I was asked to do this, but I don't have the thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, I sprung that on him on the Friday while he was in the middle of doing things at the event. So he also had no way of fixing it, even if he realized. Because I was trying to explain what the issue was, and he didn't see what the problem was, because his mind was elsewhere. But even if he had have thought about it, there's not really much he could have done at that point. So, wonderful opportunity, though. Thank you to everybody that actually did stop by. Thank you to everybody. Like, DevCon was amazing. I had a really good time. People there that had actually released things successfully in the past, whether it be through Kickstarter or privately. There was somebody that was there that chose not to launch through Kickstarter because it was just a better opportunity for them not to. And they're doing very well financially as a result of their decisions, which is wonderful for them. I was literally the only miniature war game in the group. Everybody else was card games and board games or a role-playing game. So that also meant that I stood out too, because I was the only one that actually had like a proper full-on miniature wargaming board.
Yeah.
There was nobody that walked past and didn't look because it stood out. I mean, there were other areas that had tabletop miniature games, but not where I was, so I stood out, which was good.
So Bruce, I don't know if this surprises you or not, but Casey, she's not into the gaming and stuff like I am, and I showed her the picture of your setup, and she was even impressed by it. So
at least half of the people that did playtesting with me that day had never played war games before. Or if they had, they'd only done it once once or twice, and it was a very long time ago. So, and I still got like large. I did a few playtesting things myself when I was trying to chase down things with other people on the Friday. And I saw somebody else like had a checklist of like to get feedback from people. So at 1 o'clock in the morning after I got home from the wrestling, I was like, oh, no, I should do this. This is a really great idea. And I wrote down a very quick Word document of like 4 questions and then an area for comments. One of which was, do you enjoy tabletop miniatures games? Because my thought was that if somebody has like really negative feedback and they don't like these types of games, then hey, there's a little bit of balance for you. Another one was, I don't remember all of my questions, but another one of the ones that I stood out was, did you ever feel cheated by the dice? Because one of the things I'm trying to push is the risk versus reward, so that if things go bad, it's kind of like it's only ever your fault for taking the risk. Which is interesting after Friday night this week. I'll get to that in a second very briefly. But like nobody had... I was like, everybody was really positive at the table, but they might have still wrote something really nasty on the feedback maybe. I got nothing at all negative, so that felt wonderful.
I thought you were talking about you felt personally attacked by the question of, do you feel cheated by the dice?
By my own question.
You might be. You might be. Anyways.
How dare Jason write this? Oh, wait, I'm Jason.
got
on Friday night, one of our Patreons actually came over and did playtesting with him and another friend. So it was Chris versus Adam playing Entropy City. Chris was playing as the Hades, and Adam was playing as the Komodo, and Chris got slaughtered. And I mean, he got slaughtered. Everything went wrong for Chris. But there were several times where the game could have ended, and then he pulled a 21 out of nowhere, managing to avoid an attack here and there. It was very swingy. It's the most one-sided I've seen a game so far. And it wasn't because of balancing issues. It's just the way that the dice were that night. But he still didn't feel robbed by the dice.
So what you're saying is you forced your spirit upon him.
Apparently.
Yes.
I said on the night, I mean, Chris has seen what dice are like. He's one of the few people that has seen it. And I was like, I only know one person that ever rolls worse than you, and it's me. Like we've played a few things. So he's the one that got me into Wild West Exodus. And we've kind of had very similar experiences where I trounced him one game and he trounced me another game. So it's not entirely unusual for us to experience dice to do that. But he said he didn't feel robbed by the dice. So if a game can go that one-sided and you still don't feel like it's the dice cheating you, I mean, he's old enough to know that that's not how dice work. I usually say it as a joke more than anything else. But dice are evil and they hate me.
Well, so here's the next important question. Where did you get your dice from? Were they designed for the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere?
I have some of them that are from Australia, and I have some of them that are from overseas. Where they are manufactured is another question, but the ones from Australia are sold by an Australian company. So
Right, but were they manufactured for the Northern Hemisphere? That's the important question.
They don't get sold outside of the Southern Hemisphere, so obviously not. And he was using the Australian ones, come to think of it. So he got screwed by his own country's hemisphere.
Dice.
All right.
That's usually how it works, though, is you get screwed by your own country. No.
Talk nerdy to me.
Yeah. So game talk. We're
nerdy to
probably
me,
going to need
Bruce.
to keep this a little bit shorter now because we've gone longer than I
rambled.
thought we would. I tried to
Talk nerdy to me, Socks.
Huh?
Talk nerdy to me, Socks.
So yeah, we're going to talk about what parts of the hobby we do and do not like.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the hobby is a very, very vast, big thing. And like there's aspects of it that not everybody enjoys. So for some people, it's building the models. Hi, Alan, if you're listening. For some people, it's painting the models. That's probably 50-50, I think, whether people enjoy the painting or not. So I mean, some people absolutely do, and some people just absolutely don't, and only do it because they have to. And then there are some people, this is probably not as frequent though, that just either don't get around to the games or don't enjoy gaming and they're just in it for the models themselves. There's no wrong answers here. I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation.
So, and yeah, so I know a lady, she knew of the hobby because her husband was friends with my buddy Don, who was former owner of the local store. And she thoroughly enjoyed painting. That's all she did. She just painted them.
Yep.
And she was pretty decent at it too. I'm one of those people where it's like, shiny. Like, here's a new thing. I got to get it put together. Oh, this is so cool. And then the transformation of like, I've still got Fire Slayers that I have to put together because it's like I've already put some of these together. I have to put more together.
It's how it was with my B1 squad. My 6 B1s that I had for Legion, I was just like, and there's 9 per squad. I was just like,
exactly. Yeah. It's like when it gets to that repetition point of like, and the same thing goes from painting. It's like, taking the concept and idea in your head and like transforming it and making something look awesome. Like I have a fully painted Stormcast Eternal army because I had an idea, I had the time, and I got it done. And then another box set came out. Someone wanted whatever it was, didn't want the Stormcast Eternal half, and I said, cool, I'll take that. Got the put together, got the cool new stuff. Got them primed, ready to go.
That's all you've done.
That was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's been me with set. That's why I've been doing a thing of trying to clear out stuff, because I've made that call too many times.
So, I mean, and for me, too, it's like, it depends on what mood I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Same. I agree.
I'm with you on that. I've also burnt out a couple of times, so I'm kind of on the... I coming from this from a different angle, too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a good point of burnout where I didn't want... I have all this stuff here, like, I have a great setup, and I didn't want to touch any of it. It's just like...
Yeah. See, that's something that you have. I don't. My setup is non-existent. Yours is nice back there, put away. Mine, I have to watch out for little kids. Yes, I have my own room, but I still have to worry about kids coming in here and possibly getting into stuff. And then, so I move every 2 to 3 years. And then I move every 2 or 3 years. And so I got to figure out if I'm going to have a space.
Yeah.
Last year, in my last house, I had a closet, which wasn't enough space for me to do anything in it. It was just more of a storage closet. So mine is a little bit of everything. I mean, I like the stuff. I like putting it together. I like painting it a little bit, but there's times where it's inconvenient for me altogether, and so it's hard for me to be able to sit down.
Real life is a horrible thing. How dare it get in the way?
I know.
For me, I mean, I enjoy building. I enjoy the hobby aspect, but I do have points where I won't do anything because I just don't feel like it. I enjoy the playing. I don't play as much as a hobby. Like, that has never really changed. I mean, that was always the excuse I would use when I was working night shift. But even now, I don't play stuff every week. But for me, the thing I struggle with more than anything else is batch painting. I hate and loathe batch painting. I know all of the solutions because I've tried them all. But this is why I've moved away from mass battle army games. Because I just don't enjoy it. I prefer to paint things where all of them are individuals and they don't have to look the same. I just find that more interesting.
Right, like you got your tactical squad. It's just like, okay, I'm doing all the joint creases.
Yep.
All right, now I'm done with joint creases. I am Socks. Stop showing off of how miserable your game is. Just because you're doing a historically accurate thing on a freaking ridiculously small scale doesn't mean we think you're suffering any more than we are.
It's not our fault that you decided to be a button counter.
I know that.
That was.
Batch painting sucks, and doing like the large scale armies, like. No, I've met a couple people where they will put a movie on and they will just sit there and they will batch paint.
Yeah, but that's not enjoyment. It's just because they know they need to do it.
No, they do it.
No, I take it back. No, there probably is people out there that enjoy just doing that.
Yeah, no, the people that have where they do that, like I've seen that, and it's just like I've watched them do it. Like we would set up an iPad before Casey moved in and stuff like that. I would spend way too much time at the store, and we would have painting parties, and we would sit at 2 8-foot long tables.
That's what our painting table was like.
And we would fill it up, and we would just sit there and paint, and we would have iPads set up with movies and stuff going. And this one guy, he'd set up, he could watch it out of the left side, and he'd just sit there and just batch paint his little heart out. And a couple of us would get 2-3 models done. He'd get an entire squad done.
Yeah.
And he, every single time we did that, he would show up. It's like that man never had a backlog because he could just do that, and he loved doing that.
Wait, so you knew the one person that actually finished everything before they bought new stuff?
No, I didn't say that.
There's only one of these people on the planet.
No, they still had a backlog. They didn't have a huge backlog.
Oh, okay, that's different.
See the difference?
Yeah, so he's like all of us. We don't have to hate this person because he's the same as
we. No, we can hate him because he enjoyed batch painting.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
psychopath.
I tried to force myself to find the solution to this a few times. So, yes, podcasts and videos definitely help. But every time, it's not so much a matter of I was doing it wrong. Like, I know all of the solutions. It's just I find it miserable. I blame Space Marines because I tried, because it's where it probably comes from, really. And it's why I sold all of the ones from 9th edition that I was going to paint and never got around to. Because the moment I sat down to build them, I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even want to do this.
I think Space Marines are a good one to blame. I think Clone Troopers, Battle Droids, I think those are good ones to blame because what is different from all of them? The gun.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Everything about them is identical, and it's just a different gun.
For me, when it comes down to, I moved from Warhammer to Malifaux, and every single model in that is an individual character. And going back from Malifaux is just something I've always struggled with. And this is why I like skirmish games. Because even if you do have models that are the same, they're still different. So... And it doesn't matter so much if they're slightly different.
if they're not so different, you have so many fewer that it's easier to force yourself to get it done.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
So
In saying that, I probably am going to buy those striking scorpions when they come out, and that will sit in my Eldar pile of shame like everything else that I brought when they came out. I built the diary.
What about your avatar? Did you ever get him built?
Nope, he's still in the box.
With the boot print?
Yes, with the boot print. For those that don't know, it arrived with one. So
yeah, no.
That's the big thing for me.
Bruce didn't boot print it. Yeah, the post did.
Socks. Like, is there a particular aspect of the hobby that you either really struggle with or just really don't enjoy? I mean, you spoke a bit about what you find inconvenient and the stuff, but from an enjoyment perspective, is there any part of it? There may not be.
I really like teaching folks the games.
Okay.
I really do. But in terms of like building, I love getting like George said, the new shiny stuff and putting it together and then trying to build a force that's going to be
because someone almost didn't do an unboxing because they wanted to get it put together so quickly.
It's true because do you know why? Because me and one other player is wanting to build or play with the Scions, the Scandinavians, and so yeah, I was about ready to start putting it all together, and Bruce was like, "No, do about unboxing first." I'm like, "Okay." So that's why when you see it, it's about 10 minutes long. Because
all right, okay, no, I've got a question for you now. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I suspect I know what the answer to this is. Did you only film that because you suspected I was upset with you?
Yeah, just a little.
Because I was not subtle. Okay, fine, is the response that I gave, because I was very much not happy that the only chance, the opportunity, is like, no, I'm too busy, I want to play with this now. It's like, and I didn't bother saying anything, I just went, okay, fine. Because he has been promising me that he would do this for 12 months.
So Bruce, when you said that, I closed the Facebook Messenger app and turned my phone off and sat down. I was just like, okay, I'm not adding to the conversation anymore now at this point.
I went to bed. I wrote that as I went in. I was in bed when he said this. So I didn't have any further thoughts after this. I went, okay, fine.
I will do more. I'm getting some more stuff in the future, but it's gonna be the same stuff. So I mean, I can do an unboxing for it.
You don't have to unbox everything. It's just like
the newer stuff.
Hey, Socks. Real quick question since you're talking about ordering stuff. Are you ordering any barcodes?
Yes, I'm ordering more Scandinavians.
No, but like, have you gone out and looked for like little barcode decals?
Little barcodes? No, I haven't yet. Not those.
I actually genuinely think you should do that for the one person around your table that gets the joke, and there will only be one person that actually sees it and gets what it is.
Well, no. Here's the best part, though, right? For the people who don't get the joke and they're asking, "Well, what do you have this on there?" You could just be like, "So I can Scandinavian."
It'll be worth it.
It would be.
Yeah, you have to do it.
I will find some. George is going to find me and he's going to ship something.
I'm getting on Google right now.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
So, just a couple of them. Socks, you still have your Warhost official dystopian escalation league going. For those that don't know, Socks is now a Warhost.
With War Cradle
is it just
games.
you, or is your partner in crime one as well?
My partner in crime, the two of us that started this group back in beginning of June into May timeframe. He got accepted like 2 days before I did. We submitted our applications within a couple of days of each other, so we got accepted as Warhosts. But we are now at 1,750 points. We were at 1,500 last week, so we're increasing it by another 250 points. We play every Wednesday at Critical Hit Games in St. Petersburg, Florida. So if you are interested in the game through the podcast or just in the game in general, come on by. I've got 2 fleets, so I can easily put down demos. We've got about 8 to 10 or 10 to 12 folks now, depending on live schedules and who's able to show up. So it's been great so far. So we plan on having a tournament probably beginning of the year. Once the holidays have kind of settled down and we can get a date scheduled in the store. So
I'm currently semi-harassing Chris to actually get a game in, because the box that I unboxed 12 months ago, and that was the reason that you didn't have to unbox the 2-player starter set. He finally actually built those models like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and they look great.
So
They
I'm
look
currently
great.
semi-harassing him because I'm like, no, I'd love to have a game of this. Let's actually have a game of it.
Yeah.
The other event that's coming up from the 24th till the 26th of November is Northern King Con. It's in Ossett, West Yorkshire. £55, which includes a hot lunch on Saturday and Sunday. So that's coming up really quickly, actually. Yeah, that's it. Thank you to those that do support us. We do appreciate it. Valhalla Hobby has been sponsoring us for quite a few months now. They are the only reason that we can afford gettingtabled.com. Valhalla Hobby is an actual physical store. They do have an online presence as well. They sell all of your Warhammers. They sell all of your D&D. They sell all of your Magic. But they have a real passion. They have a real passion for the indie side of the business, which is why we connected. Like they have Dystopian Wars. They have Moonstone. They have Blacksite Studios stuff. Like they have lots and lots of stuff. If they don't have it, they can get it in for you.
They used to have Doctor Who Commander decks.
Did they sell out before you could buy one?
They did sell it before I could buy them, yes.
He did warn you.
I've never been so tempted to buy Magic in so long until I saw those. It was just, there's something about Doctor Who and that card game. It seems so perfect.
And the reviews are fairly universal. And to be fair, I am someone that throws shade at Magic quite frequently. This is the first product they've released in a long time where I haven't looked at that and thought that it wasn't appropriate. Like it's very good value for money.
But yes, the whole hobby did have them,
but I'm really tempted to.
They did have all of them. Unfortunately, they are out of stock. So
they will have more stock.
Sad, George. Yeah.
Unfortunately, and this is going to be my cynical hat. Wizards of the Coast are quite deliberately keeping batches small at this stage because it means that they can sell them for more.
You're talking about ValhallaHobby.com.
No, I'm talking about Wizards of the Coast.
Yes, but we were talking, and I said they even had that, and you.
Oh yes.
You squirrel braid.
I was correcting myself because it's people might have mistaken what you were saying is shade for the store, which is not the case.
No.
Prices.
No, they even had that. They had it. They don't have it right now, but they had it. They have lots of stuff.
If you use the code GT2305 at checkout, you'll receive 5% off any order over $100. Thank you very much, Valhalla Hobby. And thank you to everybody that supports us on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/gettingtabled. If you enjoy what you do, please consider it. It's only $2 a month. It all goes towards supporting the podcast. We don't make anything out of this personally from a financial point of view. Everything helps keep the lights on and keep things going. You can find all of our content at gettingtabled.com. Alternatively, at facebook.com/gettingtabled. If you can, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We have new videos coming out every week. Our Patreon gets early access to all of those. YouTube.com/gettingtabled. Please subscribe. If you'd like to reach out to the team for any reason, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Reach out to us. Let us know what your thoughts are, what you'd love to see more of, something that you disagreed about, something that you did agree with, something that you would like us to actually talk about. Just let us know. On X or the Twitter machine, we are at gettingtabled. On Instagram, it's at gettingtabled. You can find me at twitch.tv/JasonTheBruce. I will be live on Monday. Don't know what I'm playing yet. And otherwise, if you want to see what else I'm up to, if you're into action figures and toys, you can also find me at youtube.com/toyreel. Anything else either of you want to say before I finish off with something very off topic?
Nope, I'm good.
Do the thing, Bruce.
All right. After last night, there's quite a few people in Australia that's probably upset and disappointed right now. I completely understand where you're coming from. All I want to say is don't get angry about it. Just look to the future. Things will change. We will move on, and we will find new solutions. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for listening. Play more games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.
Hey, Socks. Look at how confused George is.